Welcome everybody to the review of the new C-segment king, the Honda Civic, the 11th gen Honda Civic FE. This combination, sporty looks, taut handling, spacious cabin, punchy engine. People actively desire this car, waiting for this car to arrive. Not surprised why, but at least in our market, there's one car left that can stand a chance against it. One car that can still bother the Civic RS or the Civic. That car over there. Hey guys, what we have right there is the Mazda 3, what I think is the biggest competitor to the Civic FE. In fact, everything that the Civic has done, what Honda has done with the Civic, with the FC, with the FE, this whole upmarket push, Mazda has done successfully with the 3, with the older 3 and now this current 3. The thing is, this is also a few years older, sure, but I think still holds the crown as the best driving C-segment sedan or hatch in the market. This is a very good all-rounder, right? The Civic is a great all-rounder, but is this good enough to dethrone this car as a driver's car? So obviously there's a price difference here to speak of, since the Mazda is fully imported and the Civic is locally assembled here in Malacca. Both are fully loaded, fully equipped, but only 10,000 ringgit separates the highest spec CBU Mazda 3 sedan and this CKD Civic RS, which is now swelled to 150,000 ringgit. Ouch. Meaning the sporty RS bits is going to cost you 7,000 ringgit over the 1.5V. See what I mean about Honda pushing up market? And the Mazda 3. By now we all know what this car looks like, even why it looks that way. These days, nobody does curvy, sumptuous lines on any car as good as Mazda. They call it, Kodo, soul of motion. I just call it really pretty. In the C segment, the only thing better looking than the Mazda 3 sedan is, well, the Mazda 3 hatchback. Fight me. So, with the Honda Civic FE, okay, they have taken criticism for the FC, the predecessor for this, being a bit too anime, a bit too manga, a bit too harsh with the lines, a bit too robotic. With this, you can tell the DNA is still intact from the FC, but it's more rounded, it's more a people pleaser shape. So big RS badge over there, big headlights, kind of slim looking, a lot of black accents. Look at the wheels, they're all black. Headlights themselves, kind of black accented. You got black trim over here for the wing mirrors, around the window. The door handles themselves are black. There's a real lip spoiler at the boot over there, also black. It's trying to be sporty, but is it trying too hard? So this is how you know that Honda wants this car to be sporty, legit sporty, because they fitted Michelin Pilot Sport 4s on the tires from factory. They look good. They look way better than what was the previous one, the Honda FC, the Civic FC, the TCP. They had, the kind of the bling wheels. These are much better. In fact, you won't have to run out. Like if you're an FC owner and you wanted the sporty look, you had to go out right away and buy a new set of rims. No longer. Keep this standard. Keep this stock. It looks good. Maybe fit like lowering springs. Maybe fit like a bit of spacers to make it nice and flush.
Wait,
Chun.
doesn't that void warranty?
Well, don't tell Honda lah. Overall, it's a good looking car, but maybe perhaps not as effortlessly good looking as another car from Japan we know. Sitting down right away, you can tell this is more thought out, more modern, more continental, because you have this perched 9-inch infotainment system over here, touchscreen, very nice interface, works very well, very smooth. Ahead of me, I have the dials right in my face. This steering wheel, by the way, is really, really good. I think I like it better than a lot of steering wheels. This is actually quite a BMW feeling steering wheel. It's chunky, sporty, and you get all the other little touches, like the red accents on the seats, this kind of like Alcantara leather combination with red stitching, which is everywhere. It's a step up in quality, in build, construction, and materials from the FC Civic. The FC Civic had little things that I found to be, I don't know, it just jiggled a bit too much. It didn't feel so solid. This feels very, very solid. There is soft touch plastic. There is piano black everywhere, which you can get fingerprints on. There's also this kind of like textured plastic material that doesn't feel too bad, but it's very, very textured. Hear that? And there's leather here and there. And there's this like, can you hear that? Yeah. So it's, all the controls are more touchy-feely. For the price, this is a better, I would say maybe even 2 notches higher than the FC Civic used to be. This car actually has a 35mm increased wheelbase over the FC, and the FC was no slouch when it came to, rear legroom and just passenger space generally. What I'm saying is that you have a lot of space. This is more space that you would ever need or expect to have in a C-segment sedan. Very, very good stuff. Sitting in here, I'm a smallish guy. I don't have that much headspace. I don't have that much between top of my hair and the roof. So that could be an issue. And that is a compromise that I guess Honda made to have the aesthetic of the Civic a bit more appealing with its more, curvy, low-slung, coupe-like roofline. Yeah, not much. This is great. This is not that much. This RS really just hits all the marks. In the front seats, I'm pretty happy with it. Back seats, come on. Honda packaging, can't beat it. But there are some things about the car that is annoying or confusing. Number one, since I'm here, center tunnel over here. Because why do you have a front engine car, front wheel drive car, needing a huge center tunnel? Even the Type R is a front wheel drive car. Why do you need this over here? Makes no sense. So you might think you're getting a lot of air conditioning vents, or at least volume-wise, a lot of air conditioning vents over here because it's like single element, like an Audi or maybe even like the older HR-V, but you don't. You have control stalks over here because, and one over there, because you only have like a standard 1 air conditioning vent at the very end, 1 over here as well, and 2 in the middle. That's what you get. This thing is just for show. This is a nitpick, like the definition of a nitpick, because this shifter, you pay a lot more money than the Honda City, and yet you get the same shifter from a Honda City. Yeah, just one of those things that you have to live with. But the placement of it, I don't know about you, but I just feel like it's a little awkward because this thing is way over to the side instead of being nicely positioned in the middle, like you'd expect. But big deal, it's automatic, not like going to be shifting much anyway. This car has wireless CarPlay or Android Auto, okay? So your battery on your phone will be used up pretty quickly, because this has all the Wi-Fi connections, all the Bluetooth connections. But usually, typically, you expect to have also a wireless charger built in if you have wireless CarPlay. But this, I thought, would be like a perfect place for a wireless charger mat. You don't get that. This is just a mat. So, phone goes in, nothing happens. Also, one more thing, another nitpick is that this door panel is nice, except that the door pocket itself doesn't extend very far. It actually just ends right here. There's no speaker, there's just empty space. And yet they could have made the door pocket extend all the way back. Maybe, to fit one of these guys. You can't, it just doesn't go very far. Let's say you have a bottle over here. You can't store much. You can't store much tall, long things. Just make it full length, guys. All right. We do like the Civic, there are nitpicks, whatever, but I like Easter eggs even more. So you have this, you have the glove box, the glove area, whatever, the storage area over here, the center, and you have this little area to put like coins or whatever. But printed on the back of it, you have, I can see it, but this, I don't know, laser etching of the original Civic from the 70s. That's such a nice touch. Mazda 3, damn, this is nice, okay? The thing is about Mazda, you have this design aesthetic that goes between the exterior and interior. The way the exterior lines flow is the way the interior lines flow. It's so well laid out and so plush and there's so many layers going on. It just kind of envelops you in this really nice, plush, luxurious interior. This is proper premium. In fact, I was driving the BMW X3 about 2 weeks ago, and honestly, this is a better interior than that BMW. Crazy, right? Well done, Mazda.
All right, before we go on, let's just cover some things equipment-wise, feature-wise that these cars may or may not have. Semi-digital instrument cluster. Yes, Mazda. Yes, Civic RS. Infotainment system. Yes, Mazda, 8.8 inches. Civic RS, 9 inches. CarPlay, Android Auto. Yes, and yes. Climate control. Mazda, dual zone. All right. Honda, single zone. Yeah. Sunroof, Mazda yes, Honda no. Active safety features, Honda, Mazda, yes, 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 and yes. All right, now to the driving. Mazda 3, you're up first.
So this is it. This is the benchmark, the Mazda 3 sedan against the Honda. Come on, you want to buy a car that is great to drive, superb handling, just fun and engaging and just responsive. you buy a Mazda. You buy this Mazda over the Honda Civic. Of course, in other markets like North America and maybe even Europe, they offer this Mazda 3 with the 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, which was offered first in the CX-9. So you get the CX-9's really like hulky engine with 225 horsepower and 420 Newton meters of torque in the little Mazda 3. Sadly, you don't get that in Malaysia. Okay, 2-liter, no turbo. And it's a good linear engine. It sounds good too, actually, for, you know, for a 4-cylinder little no turbo engine. There's a little zing to it. 168 horsepower, reached at 6,000 RPM, and 213 Newton meters of torque, which is not bad, but only arriving at 4,000 RPM. So you gotta keep on revving to get to that peak torque. But that isn't why we're here. The car that I'm driving is so well regarded because of how it handles. Like, the reason why people love to drive the Mazda MX-5, it's not because it's powerful, not because it's super fast, no, because of how it drives. And that same, I don't know, that same DNA, that same, you know, horse and rider and perfect harmony, what do they call that, Jinbai Tai? You will always see the back end, you'll always be gapped by the Honda Civic with that 1.5-liter turbo engine, always. But you won't have, or rather he won't have, or she won't have, that Honda Civic driver won't have as much fun as you are behind the wheel. Because this is so good to drive. Geez, if they took off the stock Bridgestone Turanza tires and put on something more sporty, a bit more darty, like the Pilot Sport 4 that the Honda has, wow, this thing will be really, really good. I'm not even in sport mode, and I'm already like, my heart is racing a little bit. There's that fizz. There's that connection with the car. You know what's going on with the front axle. It's not really dry, but I am completely confident in this car. Ooh. And then you have the gearbox. No CVT. This is the same 6-speed automatic that you've always been getting with Mazda. They call it the Skyactiv Drive. It is a peach. Yes, I wish they had, you know, 1 or 2 more ratios to play with. Without even using the pedals, this thing just knows where I want to be. This thing is, I don't have to use the pedals because it's just shifting and downshifting where I would. Shifts are quick, they're precise. They're not like dual clutch, you know, lightning fast, but for a normal automatic transmission, wow, this is pretty impressive. It's still comfortable, it's still controlled, it's still poised. That's something you have to engineer into a car consciously. You have to make an effort to balance handling with ride comfort. We all know it is undisputed that the Mazda 3 is the best driving car in this segment, hands down. The Honda Civic, for all its merits, will have a lot to beat, will have its hands full trying to dethrone this. I don't think it'll do it. I think it might come close, but it'll just fall short. It'll be faster, but not quite as fun to drive. Over to you, Civic. Okay, Honda Civic, it sits in between, okay? It sits in the middle ground between this, of this car aspiration matrix, okay? Just stick with me over here, okay? After the first car you own, that could be a Myvi, that could be a Beza, that could be a Vios, a City, whatever else, Persona, whatever have you, right? But before you graduate fully into the Conti cars, into the BMWs, let's say, you want to get the Civic, and Honda knows who they're selling to. That is why the RS exists. That is why the RS looks the way it does. It knows that it sits in that middle ground, and that's why also Honda Civics tend to get more expensive every generation. That's just the thing that's happening right now, because they know they are in between, and they want you to question, wait, why would I want to get that BMW for when this Civic is, you know, offering me everything I need, is big enough for me, it's comfortable, it's spacious, it's refined, it's continental feeling. What do I need all that headache of another Conti car when this is just fine? And that's why the styling has changed too. So it's taken lessons to ditch that robot Katam Gundam styling in favor of this more European, more continental, more grown up look to it. You know that the older Civic, the FC, it tended to have, or it developed this kind of reputation as the car for boys. But no, but this wants to be the man. And that's why, please, whatever you do after getting this car, don't go and buy that red Honda badge from AliExpress or wherever and stick it on this Honda Civic, okay? It's too good for that. Okay, fun fact. The Civic RS, because it is the top spec Civic, and because, you know, it is the heaviest with the most equipment, it's also, well, the slowest. It's not slow, but it is the slowest of all the variants. So you have a 0 to 100 time of 8.5 seconds, which is pretty decent, but it is the slowest now. So if you pull up next to your friend who bought the 1.5e and try a drag race, this thing might lose, which is embarrassing. Here you have a very familiar engine. You have the L15B. You have the 1.5 liter VTEC turbo engine. That's now also in the HRV, but also in the CRV. It was in the FC. It's been boosted a little bit more to 182 PS and 240 Newton meters. And the torque is really important, of course, because that is sustained from 1,700 RPM to 4,000 RPM. And with the CVT, in theory, that should always, because the CVT can keep you continually on boost, it always varies its gear ratio to theoretically keep you on boost all the time. And against the Mazda 3, this feels like the much punchier engine. The Mazda's engine you have to really rev out to extract the most performance. In this, you can just put your foot down and be genuinely confident that it'll give you mostly everything, torque-wise at least. So with the CVT, this is where people tend to get a little bit more hung up about the car, because they see this car as a bit more sporty, and the CVT doesn't really lend itself to that sporty image. And I agree, it doesn't do that. But if you factor in every other situation that you'll find yourself driving the Civic, the CVT makes the most sense. And let me tell you why. Number one, you have that small displacement turbo engine that CVT again can, in theory, keep you in boost for longer and more reliably. It is more efficient, it is more refined, it is more fuel efficient, because honestly, I was going 110, you know, on the highway. It was barely over 1,000 RPM, it was barely over idle. And the thing is, when you shift, it is pretty quick to react. It's not like double clutch or even like a good ZF 8-speed automatic will give you the kind of shifts that you want, but it's not bad. Okay, it can be sporty. There is a bit of whine. You push it really hard and you get the engine revving really hard. There is that whine, that CVT whine. But besides that, you won't really mind. I don't really mind. The CVT is pretty good. Is Honda the only one, the only mass market manufacturer that puts performance tires on their mass market car, on their, like, you know, their family sedan, technically a family sedan? Wow, that's incredible. It does grip, it does lend a little more confidence, more tautness, more agility to the Civic RS. And then you have, above the Mazda 3, you get torsion. Well, the Mazda 3 has torsion bar rear suspension. This one has multi-link suspension at the back. So, in theory, it should be better. It is not as, I don't know, it is not as dynamic, it is not as sparkly as the Mazda 3. The Mazda 3 just has that extra something. You know what I mean? It's just really intuitive to drive. It feels very direct. This feels a bit more safe, more like, yeah, let's not do that. Let's not get crazy. This car is fun. It's fast, much faster than the Mazda 3, especially off the line, but just not as quite engaging. Steering, direct, accurate, bit vague, sure, whatever. But with this steering wheel, it's just so nice to drive. You can just kind of like lean it into a corner. Those PS4s just grip and grab at the surface, and you're just like, it's pretty good. For a car that you're buying, maybe to get to work, you know, to get to the office, buy some groceries, this is a really good handler. Then again, that was also what I said about the FC. So this is basically the FC++, the FC Pro Max. Ride comfort, because of that RS giving you generously a set of Michelin PS4s to play with, on those little smaller bumps, the rugged surfaces, the imperfections, you get more of a busier ride. But generally, this is a comfortable car. It's well dampened, well isolated. It's got some decent cushioning here. It feels good, just that there may be more tire roar, there may be a little bit more of a busier ride on the smaller surfaces, like on cat's eyes and on those little bumpy things that you find before tolls. Yeah, you get some of that. Cruising at high speeds, like 180 kph, feels like nothing. The gearbox, it's a CVT, so it just drops you down to its possible lowest setting. You barely have any kind of engine roar. It's not straining, doesn't feel strained at all. The chassis itself feels really solid, really rigid. Doesn't feel like you're going, you know, 180, 200, which apparently is the top speed limit in this car. It's very competent, guys. As you'd expect, this thing is a beast when it comes to all-round ability. Compared to the Mazda, yeah, it's not as dynamic, not as engaging. It's got a few tricks to learn from the Mazda. But as an overall car, this is great. And then you remember that, wait, I'm having fun, but then I also have space, ample space for 5 people. I have a big boot. I got this all-round machine that can pretty much do everything I need except carry things that are really huge from IKEA. This Civic does it all. And that's the thing that I could say about the FC as well, but this thing does it better in a more stylish, more rounded, more people-pleasing package. So when I first drove the Civic FE, I defined it as the annoyingly impressive car. And I think that still holds true because as a package, the Civic is very good. And right now, the RS is the sportiest variant you can buy, which kind of tickles my fancy because I'm looking for a car that can be sporty as well as practical and just desirable. As an overall package, I can't think of any other car that matches it blow for blow, except maybe in some ways the Mazda 3, which if you want a car that can go fast in a straight line, well, fast stood in a straight line, this is the car. If you want the car that is the undisputed C-segment handling king, it is still the Mazda. The Civic is fun to drive, packed with tech, very refined, and a great all-round daily drive car, which is also quite sporty and pretty fast. But is it as effervescent, as engaging, as dynamic as the Mazda 3? No. But neither is the Mazda 3 a good package, or as good a package as the Honda Civic.